Hello and welcome to the Tesla Life number 215. Here we are on the 18th, 18th already of August,
Yeah.
2021. The year is just flying by. If you're not concentrating on the calendar, it keeps jumping. But welcome to the show, everyone. Tonight we have, of course, our regulars, co-host, Mr. Casey Green joins us from the DC area. How are you today, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Great to have you. Also, of course, our other co-host, Mr. Patrick Connor, joins us from the left coast, as he likes to say. How are you
That's
today,
right.
sir?
I'm good. Hello, Tesla Nation, and welcome to the show where our motto is burn rubber, not gas.
I don't burn nothing.
And today we have a special guest. You may notice a fourth person in the corner here or there. It depends on your screen. But
Everybody's screen's the same.
Yeah, Mr. Ian Graham joins us from Kitchener. How are you today, sir?
Hanging in, not doing too bad.
Very good. Thank you very much for joining us today on a little bit of short notice. But Ian, of course, is starting with one of the topics that we're going to discuss today, an exciting topic of boating. If you saw our Twitter feed comment, Ian likes to call his invention, of course, the Model P, which the P will know what that stands for as we go through the presentation. But Ian, why don't you tell us a little bit about your creation and what was behind it?
Yeah, so I guess I'll bring up my slides.
Sure.
I might as well go right into the slides here. And we'll do the play. So the solar pontoon boat, I mean, we're calling it Model P right now, Tesla Tune. I'm really not too sure what null we're gonna, finally call it. I think Model P is actually sounding pretty good. This pontoon boat even has an area that you can cover up if you want to put a porta potty in and everything else too. So Model P, yeah, it kind of works. But this, funny enough, I got about, I would say, a year and a half ago, 4 Tesla batteries from a salvaged Model S, and basically, long story short, the guy that I got it from, his 13-year-old son bought the Model S that was salvaged, and he tore the whole thing apart and sold it bit by bit, including the batteries. And so another friend saw on Facebook Marketplace these Tesla batteries for sale. He sent it to me, and I called him up, and there was like basically 6 left, and I took 4 of them at the time. So actually, you know what? All in all, it was a pretty good deal, because I know Tesla batteries now, they're going up in price and stuff. So, and this also was kind of like, I have a cabin, for those of you who know Ontario, north of Manitoulin Island, and it's totally off the grid. I've always been inspired. My dad got me into renewable energy there, because we basically power the cabin with waterfalls. Now it's full on solar. The solar actually does better than what the waterfall hydro does, at least with the current system we had. And anyways, it's interesting up north though, because up north is big trucks and gas and everything else. But there are guys that were taking pontoon boats out and working on it. And I mentioned to the one guy who's like, ultra conservative, and he just like, what are you talking about? Electric? Pfft, you can't do that with a pontoon boat. It's always gas. Gas is what rules the world. So it became actually, I think in some respects, a bit of a challenge for me to go like, okay, we got to do this because we can do something better. So anyways, the pontoon boat, I came across it in January of this year. And if you guys know with COVID, like finding recreational type of stuff, vehicles and that, the minute you see it, you got to jump on it because it's gone. People were already looking for their summer and, what vehicles, recreational vehicles and boats and stuff they wanted. So I called this guy up and I said, I'll give you a deposit. I think it's pretty much exactly what I want. It's 21 feet, a little bigger than I wanted. I was looking 18 to 20. And anyways, he's like, look, I've got so many phone calls, but you seem like a nice guy. If you want to come tomorrow, take a look at it. If you want it, it's yours. So anyway, yeah, I ended up buying it. And anyways, you can see my Model 3 is towing it here. This was an interesting experiment because I had a friend follow me in his truck. And I said, let me just try it for a little bit, and then we'll switch it over to the truck. And it worked fine, except when we hit the four-way stop and I went to leave again. And then it was like all of a sudden the hitch came off. So the coupler came off. Well, what we found out later was you don't really see it here, but it was actually on a little bit of an angle. So it wasn't quite coupled properly. That since has been rectified. And, the boat is actually going up north over this next weekend. I'm still debating if I should get a truck rental, but I think the Model 3 can do it. But we're going to do some experimenting with that first. But to give your listeners an idea of what we did with the boat in terms of the tech specs, it's 3 440-watt bifacial Canadian solar panels. Anyone who argues with you that says that solar's expensive, well, no, it's not. These panels were each $307. And that is crazy because 10 years ago, I have two 10K systems as well. And 10 years ago, a 210-watt panel cost me $900. So the price of solar, and these are both sides, with being it's bifacial, it gets power both sides. It got a really good price on this stuff. The 4 5.2 kilowatt Tesla batteries, and then to control the charge controller and the batteries, we've got Lithium Solutions BMS, and this is from a company in Quebec called Volts Energies. They do renewable energy, but they do work a lot with not only Tesla batteries, but they'll get Bolt batteries, Leafs, and I think they were even looking into some other ones which I hadn't even heard of as well. I know the cattle batteries was another thing that they were getting in as well. And then the last piece of this here is the 20 horsepower Elco motor. It's runs at 48 volts, and I would have gone higher, like a 30 or even a 50 horsepower. Cost is one thing. 50 horsepower was another 10 grand. The 20 horsepower was already $4,800. That's Canadian dollars too. And also I found out from the motor company, and Elco's been around doing electric boats for like 100 years, which is amazing. But the guy said to me, like every 10 horsepower as you go up, it only gives you another 1 to 2 miles per hour. So that was the other thing is like, that's not really a big speed difference, like 6 miles per hour. It'd be nice, but $10,000 more. And then the final thing that made me a decision is what was the 30 and 50 horsepower have 96 volt requirements. So the 4 Tesla batteries could definitely do 96 volts. The problem got to be is how do I charge that 96 volt batteries with a charge controller that does 48 volts? I've since found out there is a way to do some of that stuff, but that being said, it's expensive if I'm going to go to the 50 horsepower motor. So, all right. So a good friend of mine, the guy who drove the truck, and then this is his brother, Mark. You don't really see his face here, unfortunately. But anyways, I went to public school with these guys and somehow, got talking with Mark and told him what I was looking to do. And Mark's a mechanical engineer and also does, software programming. And actually, he's got a really interesting passion where he builds guitar amps with a good friend of his. And I'm talking like really nice guitar amps. But anyways, he's like, yeah, Mark or Mike, his brother and dad, we used to work in the marina and work on boats. I'm like, really? So I told him what I wanted to do. And so he seemed intrigued. And anyways, this is him working on the battery boxes that we built. And so each box holds 2 batteries. Each box weighs about 120 to 130 pounds. There's some handles on the top that basically I have lifted them by myself. It's not good on the back. And I also, but it's better if get 2 people to kind of give you a hand on that. So this is in the workshop, and we used, of course, the Anderson connectors for putting the batteries in parallel, and also for the charge controller. And then there's an even bigger blue Anderson connector that is for the motor. And
Yeah.
so here's the batteries in the back of the Model 3. And on top of the gray box there is the charge controller, which is a Victron 250 volt, 70 amp charge controller. So we've got quite a bit of juice coming from the solar panels. And so when I first started looking into the requirements, I was going to go with 150 volts. And then I realized, man, we're like right on the edge of about 140 plus volts with the solar panels. So we did one step up. And the nice thing too is that if I wanted to down the road, I could actually add more solar panels to charge the batteries up. But to be honest, the charging is actually working really well with this system.
Yeah, I lifted a Powerwall by myself, and that's only slightly lighter than a Powerwall. It's I feel you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. You know.
Ian, would you say, we've got a question from the side here? Would you say that the price of EV use is equal to how it is with a car? Where, you know, in Canada at least, you're running at about 1/4 to 1/5 the cost of gasoline. Would that still be the same for boating as well?
It would be. You know, like for me to fill up the pontoon boat, I'm not sure how many liter tank it was, but when I did ask around, like, you know, let's say you took a truck to pull the boat, you know, how much money are you spending on that truck to pull it? And then when you put it in the water and you want to boat around, you know, we saw pontoon boats, like, you know, with people water skiing and tubing, and which is amazing. But man, that's going to suck the gas back.
Yeah.
And
those weren't 20 horsepower motors either, for sure. Like those were 100 horse plus.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be a heck of a lot of money in gas. I know that the guy I bought the boat from, I think he said to me it was around $75 to $100 to fill the tank. And he only used the boat, funny enough, like it sounded like for like a couple of weeks of the summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you know, basically probably used the tank for that summer. You know, so there's $7,500 that way. But the nice thing with this setup is a lot of times when you're doing electric boats, the charging option is still shore based. And so guys have got these chargers that they, you know, they can go to shore and plug in, and they're still getting shore power, and they got to pay for that still. In this case, you know, the solar is charging this for free. So everything about this is free. You know, if I wanted to put a shore power in, I could. But being, again, my cabin's totally off the grid, I don't really know that I need to. So.
Yeah, and I'll let you guys know that with our little spin that we took on Sunday, I was out on the raw water in Ian's boat for a full hour, and we were touring around the bay, and we came back and docked, and we took a look at the meter that reads how much is left in the battery, and we had only burned through under 10% of the battery's range, and that was a full hour of driving the boat. And then when we stopped at the dock, of course, a number of people went and took a washroom break, came back, and they set out again. And the boat recovered a couple of percent while the boat was waiting for the people to come back through the solar panels. So this is, I can see that the boat could run nonstop the entire day, and you would still have lots of juice left after a full day of boating.
Yeah. So on your controller, does it allow you to as long as the battery's not full, allow you to feed in from the solar into the whole mix, or do you have to switch to charge mode?
Nope, it just feeds in constantly. Cool. So the BMS is programmed. Actually, I should say the charge controller I programmed to do up to like 90%. It looks like it's 92% actually. Mm-hmm. And it basically doesn't go any more than that. So kind of like your car, you know, for daily driving, you only do 80 to maybe 90%. So I've done that with these batteries as well. But yeah, while we're tooting around, the batteries are being charged as well with the solar. It's not like you have to choose one or the other. And we figured we did about, we're out there for 4+ hours. And at the end of the day, the batteries were down to 56%. And while we were loading the boat up, it went back up over 60% again.
Oh my.
Yeah. So it's worked well. Now, I should mention too, when you're asking about the charging part, the guy I got the batteries from runs a solar company. And he actually, the year before, helped a guy convert a 36-foot catamaran to run on a Model S pack of batteries with 18 solar panels that are similar to mine. They're bifacial. They're a slight bit less wattage. They recently did a trip, and the boat barely touched and this was overnight. This is the other thing. It was autopilot and overnight. So, if you know boats now with the GPSs that they got going that are crazy, where the boat just goes for you, you map out where you want to go. This guy's got this stuff. And overnight, he said, the batteries are barely touched. And during the day, he says, Tesla can run the boat for 24 hours with the solar. It's infinite. So, yeah, it's amazing what we're getting now with this stuff. I think a big part of it is the solar technology has changed quite a bit. It's gotten so much more efficient, and yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
So anyways, we ended up, this was a kind of a discussion. We were trying to figure out where do we put the batteries, and we were looking originally, this was this deck box and Mark's feet here, that was actually a bench. And we were thinking we can maybe put the batteries to the bench beside them. How do we do that? And then the more we looked at it, the more it was we just finally said, you know what? Let's rip the back bench out. We've already got enough room for, even with the back bench ripped out, we have enough room for 9 people. And if we use this deck box, it's got a bench on it. There's the other 2 people back again. It's supposed to be 11 people you can have. And this way, it's the battery boxes themselves are the white paint that's on it. It's also meant to be, for weatherproof and everything else. But this is just one more step with the deck box, and it actually helped with the centering everything with the boat and that too. So rather than having the batteries to the side, now the boat leans to the side, etc. This is it worked out really well.
I need you 4 to always stay on this side of the boat.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you can see, it's funny, and you can see actually on the left side that gray kind of like a tarp. Mm-hmm. That's funny enough, that's like a canopy that you can use as a change room / if you want to say washroom, porta potty, whatever you want to call it. So this boat had some pretty neat stuff on it actually. The right side, you can see the lid opened up there. That was just an empty space. That's where the charge controller went. And actually, that's funny where the gas lines went through. And, with, the air return and everything that way. But that's all been removed. And I don't know, there's a part of me that still wants to put a little sticker that says gas LOL on the side of the boat there. But, and if I did do shore power, if I decided to do that one day on this boat, I think that's where I would probably put the plug to do that. So it'll be interesting to see as time goes on. Norway is doing some amazing stuff with their plug shore where, boat pulls up and just like a J1772 comes out and they can charge their boats. So it'll be interesting to see if we start seeing more of that as well. Yeah. So this is for the kind of the guys who want to nerd out on kind of what we did and putting this all together. We ended up buying, you can see actually just on the very top of the screen, this aluminum, extruded aluminum. And it's got a little slot in there. We bought 18 pieces of extruded aluminum, 10 feet roughly long. It actually worked perfectly well for the solar panels for their measurements. But anyways, to fasten everything together, again, Mark being a mechanical engineer that he is, he had me go and get this steel, and he made a template, and I had to then drill all the little holes out there and basically paint it. And this is what we use. We put the steel there into the aluminum slot, and then we could basically fasten everything together that way. So this was a real, right to the making the pieces and everything else. We did hire a guy as well to do some fabricating of some aluminum and steel for some corner brackets and stuff like that as well. So yeah, and then here's the other part. These are 3D printed brackets that let the extruded aluminum slide up and down. So the solar canopy isn't always up. It actually can be lowered down for travel. And anyways, the pieces on the bottom right are what goes into the extruded aluminum slots and allows the two pieces of aluminum to slide up and down. One piece is stationary, the other piece slides up and down. And then the piece on the bottom left is actually a bracket that we use to secure the solar panels. So they also went into the extruded aluminum, they slid across, and basically they locked the solar panels in place. Now we did end up doing some aluminum brackets as well, just to be extra safe, especially with wind and that. But it's in solid. Mark told me, I think the printing of all this stuff was like, it was in like at least 4+ days, 24/7.
Oh my.
So I owe him a little bit of, a filament for some of this stuff. Yeah. All right. So this gives you an idea of the extruded aluminum pieces. These ones were cut for size. And then you can see the orange pieces that we use to then attach another piece of aluminum and slide it up and down. So these pieces here that you're seeing, these ones are stationary. They don't move like the piece that will be beside it.
Okay, so it's like telescoping.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. So here's Mark putting this in. And you can see him actually, those, in his hand is one of those brackets that we, did up with the two drilled holes. And that basically would then be part of a plate that would fasten the two pieces together. And when we want to slide it up and down, we would loosen basically 4 screws on either side of those, the sliding up and down aluminum. So here's the panels being put on. You can see the orange brackets that they get slid across and they hold the panels in place. The orange brackets you're seeing here would be for the second panel going on. So you wouldn't see the panels on there now. You don't see the other ones that are on there. And then some of the steel that we got fabricated for the triangles and corner pieces, you can see there on the deck box, so, and while that's only showing 2 cans of beer, a lot more cans of beer definitely got consumed while doing this part of the boat, because this was a real chore. So, but anyways, it was fun. So here is the boat. This is actually on last Sunday, on launch day, with you can see all the different pieces that were fabricated. The triangle plate on the top, the little square plate between the two aluminum rails, and this is a friend of mine, Axel, who is nice enough to let me borrow his. He drove his Jeep Cherokee to take the boat out to Conestoga Lake, and helped us put it all together.
So the motor is still an upward style.
Yeah, it looks like a regular motor.
It does, just a little smaller because it doesn't need all that combustion stuff.
Yeah, the top part is very small.
Yeah. Now, if you got the 50 horsepower, it would be a hair bigger on that. But and again, you know what? It's funny. Like, I'd have to look at what the date is, but their logo says electric since 1893.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, those are trolling motors, right? There are a lot of people use trolling motors for fishing boats and other boats to be quiet when they're moving around, and to save gasoline is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, and Elco, they I did look at other companies like Torqeedo's another one. Torqeedo's a little more futuristic looking. They don't have quite the regular boat motor look. But I've come across some other companies since. One of them actually really intrigued me because not only is it a motor, but it actually works in reverse, kind of like regenerative braking on a car.
Oh yeah.
It'll spin the propeller and charge your battery. So if you're like docked somewhere and there's a current, it can be used to charge your battery again. So brilliant, And now that company, when I did look into them, their horsepower, I don't think it went any more than 9.9. It wasn't, into the 20 plus range. Not to say that they won't be doing that probably down the road, but and I apologize. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the company was, but anyways, there's more and more companies. There's another company in Texas called Stealth. I looked at their motors as well, and they look, standard, and they actually have a full package with batteries that you can get.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Elco does as well, but yeah.
Regen would probably be pretty cool on a sailboat or boat with a sail.
Yeah, exactly. So it worked well on that. So here's the boat launch. This is where everyone's like, okay, we bought this boat back in January. Now, does the thing actually float? Because I haven't seen it in the water, It's not like buying a car and it's like, well, yeah, it runs. And you don't know it runs until you have to put the money down and you took it off the lot. So, but the guy actually that owned this boat he actually built that trailer custom for the boat as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's actually pretty heavy duty, this trailer. It's heavier than kind of what a normal pontoon boat trailer would be. And the tongue is actually longer as well. I would say the tongue's got to be at least 4 to 5 feet, as well on that. So, yeah. But
probably good, considering you added 600 pounds to it.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. But anyways, we had this was the perfect day. You can see it's like blue sky. The sun was absolutely perfect for this. It was interesting to note for you guys who know with solar, the time of day that's best for solar is usually around like 1 p.m. And we actually, I noticed that time-wise, it just sort of came to me. It's like, hey, it's like around 1 o'clock. And so I was checking out what the solar was putting out, and it was pumping out like 1,400 watts, no problem. So I can't remember. A friend of ours, Eric, was telling me what amperage was going back into the batteries, but it was quite good. So Eric figured that the solar to batteries was kind of like a 10-to-1 ratio. So, it basically, if we kept running this boat and we did finally totally run out of power, it would definitely take a few hours to charge it back up, probably a day. But this boat is never really going to ever see that. I mean, I'm talking we already went out for 4+ hours and we only hit 56% out of 92%.
Yeah. So,
yeah, on that. So, all right. So, yeah, here you go. This is one thing I love with Victron charge controllers and Victron Energy. You can buy a display for the charge controller, but this is just for my phone. So in this case, we're putting out 1,151 watts. The voltage is 116 volts and 9.9 amps. When you convert that down to 48 volts, it's 23 amps that basically we're getting back into the battery. So it's putting out a pretty good current on that. And this is bulk. Actually, you know what? Here we go. This is actually kind of interesting too, is that if you look, my time is at 1:08 p.m. So this is what was being put out from the solar at that time. I did have another a point where I saw it was like around 1,400 watts of power coming out as well. And this is the BMS to give you kind of an idea of what's the percentages for battery, how many watt hours you've got. The temperature was one thing we definitely followed, because we didn't want to be on the news for a fire on the water. So the only reason that there should have been a boat fire is because we barbecued something on the boat,
right?
Some sausages on the boat, but yeah, that was the last thing we wanted.
So did you find you needed any cooling, or are they fine just sitting there?
They sat there. I think the highest temperature we saw was around 27 degrees. So this is a picture, not when we were running the boat. This was actually when the BMS was in the shop, and we were playing around with this overall. So you can see the temperature was around 23, and the max, went up 23.89. Like, it wasn't a big difference. But on the actual boat itself, we did hit a high of around 27 degrees. And for a day that was, I want to say it was around 24 degrees that day. And then, of course, you got the wind and everything else. But overall, the batteries, I wouldn't say we need any coolant. That was one thing we were concerned about, too. Would we need coolant if we ran a 50 horsepower?
Probably.
Maybe.
So,
Maybe.
Are you looking at adding in like a fan or something, or are you just going to leave them as is?
I think I'm going to leave it as is. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll keep an eye on the temperature and see what the max ever kind of hits. But overall, I think we're okay on that.
Nissan Leaf style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So, anyways, the BMS, I should say, like, Volts Energy that we got the BMS from. It was kind of interesting. Like, we hooked it up, and we could see it's like working, and we shut down, and then we turn it back on later on, and then also we got this communication error, and it's like, okay, what's going on that way? And anyways, we ended up having to send the BMS back to Volts. They looked through it, and they were a little confused. They ended up changing the connectors for the BMS connectors on the Tesla battery, and we got it back, and unfortunately still getting communication error. So I ended up actually taking the 4 batteries and the BMS back to Montreal, where they're located, and they, within 2 hours, basically, turns out I was the first, of course, of how many hundreds of these BMSs that they've sold. I'm the first guy to have a short.
Oh no!
Short on the BMS, but Volts, they were awesome. Like, basically, they gave me a new BMS because they want to find out why it shorted. That really confused them on that. It confused me well. But anyways, the one thing that we learned with the BMS, like with these guys, is basically they program it to the batteries, which is really nice. And they leave it so, like, you can't get in there. Like, you're 4 batteries, that's great. If I ever decide to add 2 more batteries, I gotta get it reprogrammed. But
do they do it remote, or you gotta send it back?
You gotta send it back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But for a guy like myself,
they could dial in.
yeah. For a guy like myself, though, it's like, that's fine. I don't need to get into the programming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's their system works really well. And they're actually looking for the future-wise to be able to get Bluetooth connectivity, all that type of stuff onto their system. So, anyways, this is a little video here. This flag, of course, I got it custom designed. Well, I did the custom design myself here, but I got a custom done up at a flag store and everything that way. I figured, you always need a pirate flag for a boat, except in this case, you use lightning bolts for the skull and crossbones. So if you don't hear audio, that's fine. There's not really much in the way of audio there, but it gives you an idea of just sort of the around the boat, and maybe a little bit even for that matter. The top speed we got was around 10 kilometers an hour. Some people were like, it's not great, but I think if you go sailing, I don't think sailboats go much quicker than maybe to 15 kilometers an hour.
On the
I don't know.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think they go much faster than that themselves. But anyways, this is a floating living room, a floating couch. So, like, it doesn't matter how fast we go.
Put a Starlink on there. You can watch the game from the lake.
Exactly.
You know what? It's funny enough. I'm looking for Starlink. I want it so that I can have Starlink at home and up north at the cabin.
Yeah.
Once I can do that, then there might be a possibility that I might put Starlink on the pontoon boat. Why not?
The boat could be your router for the cabin.
Yeah. Pretty much. So, all right. So I guess click play here.
I think I do hear it. There's Mark.
Yep. So you can see the temperature was 17 was the minimum and 21 was the high.
Okay.
And you can hear that whir other than the wind.
Yeah.
You hear the motor, just a little bit of a whir of the motor. That's it.
The bifacial looks cool with it being the canopy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you need a canopy on a boat anyway, so why not
Right.
make the canopy work? Like it just
Exactly.
makes complete sense.
Put it
It
to
was-
work.
you know
Don't
what?
let it be dead weight.
Yeah, and you know it's funny because that canopy, I think Mark and I were driving back and forth the boat, but it was like, I'm getting cool. Do you want to switch and go out in the sun for a while?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That town in North Carolina was right. It does eat the sun.
It does, right? I remember that.
Well, I got the big question, Ian. I'm sure it's on everyone else's mind. When you look at the conversion, what you did, how much the boat cost you, what price are you looking at?
Well, I'll give you some numbers. The boat and trailer cost me 16,000. And I've looked around, and a couple of guys said to me that was actually a really good deal.
It's a great deal.
Especially too because the guy got a lot of inquiries after. Even he was telling me, he's like, man, I probably could have sold this thing for over 20.
Yeah, I was just on a boat site the other day. Don't ask me why. But yeah, that's a great price.
Yeah, because I mean, pontoon boats new, you're starting like anywhere from 40, 50, 60 grand.
Mhm.
You know, it's crazy. The Tesla batteries, the 4 of them cost me $6,000, so $1,500 each. The solar panels were $307 each. The extruded aluminum 18 10-foot pieces I got from a guy who has a backyard full of every possible piece of junk you can imagine. It was kind of like Sanford and Son, and it was $300 for 18 pieces 10 foot, which I'm sure that aluminum today, like if I went to like get it new, that would have probably cost probably $1,000 plus. You know, I don't even know. And charge controller was around $750. I got that with free shipping and 15% off. The manufactured steel brackets and pieces and everything else. I'm going to say everything was around $1,000 for that stuff. Then the little odds and sods, like, you know, boys, I bought a pole last night in case, you know, I get to the the deck and I can't, you know, I'm by myself. I got to figure a way to grab hold of the deck. So I got one of those poles that, you know, can get you in.
That's with any boat. That doesn't really count.
No, not in that case. But that's, I'm not sure if I'm missing anything on that, but that's pretty much it. So let's put it this way. Like, I think the boat, if you say everything total would be like, oh, the motor. That was the other thing. The motor was about, and again, and I apologize, as Canadian prices is about, was 4,800, somewhere around there. So when you compare that to a gas motor, it's pretty much the same. It's surprisingly not much different. In fact, the 50 horsepower motor was 14,000 Canadian, which, you know, that's a lot of money. But
It's
I know
the same as the boat.
well, yeah, exactly. But it's funny. A friend bought a 50 horsepower gas, and that was $12,000.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's what we were talking about last week. We found that the Model 3 is now on par with the combustion cars as of this year. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, you buy a $30,000 Honda Civic, you've bought in a Standard Range Plus Model 3. You know, even though it's $60,000. Again, we're talking Canadian, but you do the math. It's the same thing, and a Civic does not have anywhere the fun factor.
Not at all.
Not even close. No. So, but yeah. So price wise, that's kind of what you're looking at. I would say 25, 30 grand for this boat. So I don't plan on doing too many more big projects like this for a while. You know, that was, you know, it added up. But honestly, this is something. Even the guy from Elco said to me, is like, you know, your great grandchildren will be the first to probably do any service on that motor, you know, because it's electric. It just, you know, there's no real service other than the lower body unit. Like, you know, gas has that as well for the gear oil and stuff like that. That's the only service. Yeah, that's the only service. So,
well, that's fantastic. That is a great overview of a project. It's a large project. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a big project. You needed a lot of help to get it done, and luckily you had that that help. But man, what a fantastic end result.
Yeah, I gotta, and that's the thing. Like, I was really hoping this boat would be out in June, July. I always have way higher expectations. Being self-employed makes a big difference, and unfortunately, my buddies they're full-time employed. So
Yeah.
But I gotta give such a huge shout out to Mark and Mike Melvin for this project, because just putting the motor on, their expertise even with the motor, was an area that's. I'm not saying I couldn't figure it out, but I probably would have made a mistake of some type. These guys knew what they were doing, and just their ideas with the canopy and the battery boxes. And Mark will say first that that it's probably way over engineered, but hey, so be it. It's I think it's a cool project, and I think it really makes a valid point about electric boats. We can mix electricity with water, and it's I think like one of you had mentioned that you've done a power wall, and all those type of things. I think it's great to see the DIY community getting more involved with this type of stuff and proving what can be done.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into a couple of stories to round up the podcast tonight. Let's take a look at what we've got here on tap. Want to mention about Elon at Gigafactory Berlin with the German officials talking about.
Sorry, we had some comments on the story. I missed them. I was trying to make things clearer on the displays. So Mark was saying you sold the gas motor and recouped some costs.
I did, and I just saw that he said that. It's like I sold it for $5,500. So
nice.
So the Elco motor for $4,800 plus I gained some money.
Yeah,
mind you, that was a 75 horsepower motor. That was a big baby,
definitely.
350 pounds. Yeah.
And then Christian also pointed out that the sailboats can hit 27 kph or more, but on the lakes probably about 10. So that's about right.
Yeah.
And then John Dixon, tweet at the Tesla Life. Otherwise, look at the Facebook, or we had an email that Mark gave out a couple times ago. You want to give it out again, Mark?
You can email us directly, the Tesla Life at gmail.com.
There you go. I'm sorry, back to the program.
Yeah,
okay.
So just wanted to touch upon the visit for Elon going to the Giga Berlin, talked to a couple of officials there. Again, Elon trying to push that he wants this plant certainly to open in by end of October. What I really found kind of funny here is that one German official was speaking to Elon on stage and came out with the statement or the question. Elon, what do you believe the future of cars will be, hydrogen or electric? And Elon was kind of shocked with the question, as I was shocked listening to it. Yeah. And Elon kind of laughed and said, well, it's electric, of course. There's no competition. Hydrogen is not what you want to use. And then laughed kind of sillily for a couple of seconds. Yeah. And the clip is on our Twitter feed if you want to see that. But I just found it really unusual that a German official would say that in front of Elon on the plant site as they're pushing to open this completely electric plant. Like, I didn't get it.
It was super weird. Like, hey, let's open up this solar field. Let's cut the ribbon. Hey, what do you think about that natural gas?
Exactly. It was really strange. So
he's the same kind of politician. A favorable answer. You can see his reaction when he got that laugh. He's like, what?
Yeah. Politicians are not engineers. They don't know what's what. They just listen to what their lobbyists tell them. And this is probably the same type of politician that 10 years ago thought diesel was the future. Clean diesel. That's what it's going to be great. That's what they're paying me to say. So I believe it.
This may be give us an insight into the brains of what's going on in Japan and Germany with that hydrogen obsession. They might not understand.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, on to our next story. Patrick's got one a little bit about Elon sharing with Rivian. What's that?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So Mr. Musk is giving some advice to Rivian and telling them that he would recommend that they get their first plant working before they start opening more. Only a fool would try to open 2 plants at once.
Well, only a fool will try to open their first 2 plants at once.
Correct, right. Yes, a minor distinction, yes. I'm not sure if anybody really asked his opinion on this.
I don't think so.
I mean, everybody else was chiming in on it. Why not him? He at least has experience in it.
Yes, he does. And
I like the fact that Elon is so forthcoming. It's like, yeah, I might just have a bit of experience that you might want to talk to me about some of this just before you go opening the second one. You know, the hours spent in like the Model 3 factory, sleeping on the floor. And oh, by the way, we had to build a tent.
Yeah.
To build the cars, like not even a second factory. We just did a tent, you know. And I think Elon's he's encouraging everyone to go electric, and he does. I don't think he looks at anyone as a competitor. I think he looks at everyone as like this is all part of the landscape and helping the world. And if he can give some advice, and they take it, great. But I think he's cheering a lot of people on. Like, I mean, he was the guy I loved when I saw when Ford came out with the Lightning, and Elon was like, good for you guys. This is nice to see,
Yeah.
So, but I think he also might have been warning the head up at Rivian about, you might want to stay at home and enjoy your bed instead of sleeping underneath the desk.
Yeah, that's Musk's choice to be a micromanager. I don't know that RJ Scaringe is going to be doing the same thing. He might actually delegate and trust his people to do it instead of be there on site, making sure it happens the way he wants it.
Yeah.
Next story, going to take a quick look at, of course, sales of Model 3 and Model Y, we've always known have been ramping up. We see that in the quarterly reports. We hear that from people purchasing the cars. And now, based on the configurators, we're seeing that the order times for Model 3 and Model Y have been starting to push out further. And as of this week, it looks like not only the Model 3 SR Plus, but now the Model Y long range are both basically sold out for the year 2021. So here we are mid-August, and if you're ordering either of those cars at this point, either in the US or Canada, you're looking into January of 2022 before your cars are going to be made. So what do you guys think? Is this demand? Is this supplier problems? Is this a combination? What do you think?
Both. They can't get enough of the white seat material. That's why we're seeing a lot of the people with white seats get passed up by folks with black seats. I think even was it cream or gray that they offer now that's come back. Those are even shipping, and Elon's admitted they're still having trouble getting chips, so they're focusing on Model S and Model Y.
Yeah,
that's
it makes
where your
sense.
profit is.
With the chip shortage, you're going to sell your high margin vehicles that are going to take priority. If you can only ship one, ship the one that you make more money on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but it is being pushed out. Certainly, we watch the quarters. It hasn't affected Tesla negatively yet on the sales or production side of things. When it comes to the end of quarter 3, we'll have to check again. But to this point, the first 2 quarters of the year, they've been stellar performances for Tesla. They are all-time records in sales and production. So we're definitely going to keep our eye on this. But I would think that if it is a supply issue, that's going to show up at some point. But I know, as Tesla had mentioned, of how they're taking every chip they can and reprogramming so they can use those new chips. Yep. They're trying every trick in the book to keep the cars rolling out. So we'll have to keep our eye on it and see what happens in the third and fourth quarters.
There was rumor that Fremont was shut down on Saturday and Sunday to catch up with supplies. But unlike what we see at some other places, what Tesla does is when the plant is, or at least a line is down, what they do is they take the time to do maintenance and upgrades, because Fremont's an old girl. So it's a perfect opportunity to do that, so you don't have to do a shutdown later. If you already have a reason to be off, might as well get it out of the way and get it back up and running again.
Yeah, yeah. Next, Patrick's got another story for us. The 10 reasons that Tesla will be bigger and better in 2022.
Right. Yes. So this comes from carswithcords.net, that little blog up there. And I saw someone that had posted a list, and it was like 4 reasons, and they weren't even like the best reasons. And I was like, no, let's just do this right. I want to make my own. And we've already touched on the gigafactories that are going to be opening next. Hopefully they're both open by the end of this year. So next year is going to be ramp and getting to volume production. New models, the Plaid. So with the Model S and X, they haven't been selling for most of this year. And the Model X, the new refreshed X, is not even shipping yet. So that's a pretty big hit, but yet Tesla's still getting record volumes and revenue. So next year, if you sell 50,000, 100,000 Model S and X at about 100,000 each, it's just $10 billion more. That's all. Not investment advice, but
Well, speaking of investment, the proxy votes are out of here.
Oh,
so if you own Tesla stocks, get your votes in. So they're going on 9 months without a new Model X sold,
right?
And very well could be, according to what some people are getting on their delivery times, very well could be over a year without a Model X on sale. That is incredible.
Right. Yes, and hopefully in 2022 that's all resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have to go through the whole list. Some of the interesting stuff was with the tax credits, and of course next year the big one, not to spare the lead, is the Cybertruck. There's so many people that are excited for that. It's going to bring in a whole new genre of buyers. Yeah, and you can haul boats with it.
Yes.
Yes,
all of them.
I actually, when Cybertruck came out, the minute they said that you could put a deposit down, like I was on, and like I put my $150 down, and then about 2 weeks later, I'm like thinking in my head, is like, what else can I do with this? And so I went and bought cybertruckcanada.com.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I figured what the heck. And but the one funny thing, I go to Mexico quite a bit, and they made a comment about it's bulletproof, blah blah blah. And I looked at my 2 buddies and said, the first people buying this truck will be Mexican cartel. It's bulletproof.
or law enforcement, yeah.
Or law enforcement, yeah.
Both, yeah.
Both, yes. They have a shootout against each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for next year. I think it's every year following Tesla is exciting stuff happens, and next year looks like it's going to be no different. Lots of exciting stuff all next year.
Very good. And if you'd like to see the complete list, Patrick's got it up on his website, carswithcords.net. That's the most latest blog input, and go ahead and take a read through it there. Casey's got our last story, and of course it's supercharger related. What's that about, Casey?
Of course. So our friends at JD Power had done a ranking. Usually when we see these rankings and Tesla is involved, we get a little bit nervous. Hey, how do they do it? And so on this one, I'm going to share this chart. Bear with me. I wasn't expecting to actually share my screen today. JD Power ranked the Tesla Destination Network at 689, and they ranked the Blink at 535. Volta came up pretty close at 674 on a 1,000-point scale. I'm surprised they came out so low, considering that the Voltas are free.
Yeah. That is not a good comparison at all.
No. But the other thing I can think of with the Voltas is they usually come in pairs. So maybe it's like you get there and it's in use. So that would sour the experience a little bit.
So
after seeing this chart, Casey, I really call into question how JD Power figured this out, because that Volta, those units are free chargers, level 2s, that are typically in shopping mall parking lots.
Yes.
They're not fast chargers. They're not spaced out appropriately. They're not close to the intersections of highways.
These were slow chargers.
Okay. All right.
So on their fast chargers out of 1,000 point
Wait.
scale.
Before we leave the destination charger, so the reason I wasn't on the show last week is we went to the beach
Oh,
and
nice.
to beat the heat, and the place that we stayed had a destination charger, and so it was free, and it was actually really cool. The trip worked out brilliantly because Tesla has such a good network. We were able to charge on the way there. We were able to charge overnight at the hotel, and then on the way back, they had us stopping at a far charger, but we stopped for lunch and we had the dog, and so we had dog mode on, and we're on vacation, so we take a leisurely long lunch. When we get back in the car, it said, "Oh, you've burned a few extra watts. Let's stop at this other spot instead." And because Tesla has a vast network, that was an easy option. It wasn't like, "Oh no, now we're not going to make it."
Right.
Yeah, and their software just took care of all of that in the car. I mean, I just go home and it tells me where to stop and where to go. It was so easy.
Oh, yes. And then on the software that's rolling out now, Green the Only says that the predictions of the Tesla trip computer have become even more accurate. He thought it was a fluke, so he went ahead and ran some tests, and it was even better than a better route planner as far as figuring the drain for the terrain, which is really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So then we switch over to the supercharger network versus other DC fast chargers, and they came up with Tesla Supercharger got 733 points, whereas our friends at EVgo got 592 points, which is interesting. I would have figured that Electrify America would have got lower, considering that EVgo usually has a functional unit somewhere, and Electrify America has this reputation for not being all that robust. And I don't understand how these three take up everybody can be lower than the average. I mean, yes, mathematically it works, but I mean, you'd want one of them to be higher than the average, and apparently they're being lifted up by the supercharger network's reliability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I expect ChargePoint to be good because they use some decent units. They're all most of them are the Tritium, and if they're not the Tritium, they're fairly new, whereas the other guys are using some that have had compatibility issues in the past.
I didn't know ChargePoint had that many DC fast chargers out there.
I don't know it's necessarily that there's so many as much as that they just work.
The ones that are there are reliable. Because
it's asking how your experience with them is.
I see.
Yeah. And I mean, every time I've used a ChargePoint, it's been fast, it's been quick, it's been quiet. The EVgos are loud as heck, but most of the time they don't have to get reset or have any issues. And for the Electrify America, who was that? We had a automaker told one of us that they actually have to go around and check to make sure these things are working, and they actually threatened to delist all of the Electrify Americas from their nav unit if they didn't work with them on compatibility. And at that point, within about 2-3 weeks after that ultimatum, Electrify America made that model car compatible with all of their stations, and it was a major pull because they didn't even know where the incompatible units were, like that they had deployed. They just knew they were out there. Like, hey, we got 500 of them. We don't know where they are.
What a nightmare!
Yes, but that's the JD Power's ranking on charging.
We know just based on experience. We've all owned other EVs here.
Yes.
We know that the Tesla is the top of the heap. And have been since they started their supercharger network, and still continue to be at the top. So the others are chasing. I still think that the differences were slight compared to what I believe they are in real life here. But it's interesting that that this particular survey said it was that close, because I don't think it's close at all based on my experience. Well, with that, let's did a good week worth of work here. Let's do some shout outs and head out. Let's start with Mr. Casey Green. What have you got cooking this week?
So I just finished filming a second deep dive video, because as soon as I finished the first one and put everything in the computer and arranged it, I didn't do any cutting yet. My car says, "Hey, I've downloaded an update. What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Install the thing, of course." And so right before the show, I took a nap, and I had what I did was I actually just basically copy pasted the old video and took out all the footage, so that way I could put in the footage from this update. And yet again, Tesla said I had minor fixes, they didn't actually take into account that I skipped a whole version. Typically, with the new layout, it would tell you all the ones that you've missed. It would go from your old one to all the ones that you in between to where you are now, and so it totally skipped the fact that I had the Disney Plus and the and all that other stuff, and so I had to go back and actually find that. And on the previous one, I found myself hooked on the Skyforce game. That is fun, and so those should be out this weekend, hopefully, or at least one of them, over at youtube.com/Casey Green.
Very good, Mr. Connor. Any shoutouts?
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find this at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithquarters.net. And I've got to say this, that we are here to help bring about a future free from fossil fuels.
Bingo. Worked it into the final moments of the show. Way to go. Also, Ian, any shoutouts from your end?
I guess, just shout outs to my buddies Mark and Mike Melvin, Axel Wolf, and then to Elco, Bolts Energies, and Canadian Solar, I guess, for that matter, for helping me complete this boat project. And, and for all my other friends that I have not seen for how long, I will eventually be back. Actually, even for my studio clients, I should mention as well, because my main living that I do is I run a recording studio, and I told all my clients, I'm sorry, but I can't record you today because I'm working on the boat.
Hopefully they were good sports about it.
Oh, they're great. Actually, every one of them, they think it's pretty cool and stuff. And
mention the studio name.
Smalldogstudio.com is my studio. It's an off-grid studio, of course, 10K system on here. And I've been at this for probably 30 years plus. I've been recording, and I also teach at the university. So, and if anyone wants a shout out to me on Twitter at SmallDogStudio, at Red Bar Tesla, if you're looking on my Tesla part, or at Cybertruck Canada. Cybertruck Canada is because of the smaller lettering, and trying to remember, it's not quite Canada. But anyways, yeah. But, and at Red Bar Tesla. Yeah, I think I cut the A off. Yeah, but and at Red Bar Tesla I'm also a diehard Rush fan. So when it came to naming the car, and I'm trying to think, I was like, okay, what Rush song can I think of or something? And Red Bar Tesla. Simple.
There you go.
So,
perfect.
Anyways, here you go.
Well, thanks very much, Ian, for joining us this evening and going through your project. It was extremely interesting to hear about, and certainly appreciate your time to join us this evening.
Appreciate being on. Thank you.
Very good. And with that, we'll roll the credits. We'll roll the music. Thank you, Lee Moon, for providing the music we use every episode. And for you out there, we'll find out what's going on together next week in the Tesla Life. Good night, everyone.